Good morning, good morning, good morning. And welcome back to the Operation Hill 100 Heart channel where we do what? Focus on healing, humor, and hot motherfucking topics. Now, I know why you here because you're a nosy just like me. I appreciate the nosiness though because it allows us to get to the bottom of things. And that's what we're going to do right here with this next Dear DJ letter. While I'm reading the letter, please make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video. If you are new to my channel, please, after you subscribe, turn on your notification bell so you can get all of my videos when they drop. Let's rock and roll. Dear Deja, I have a 20-year career as a SPED teacher working for the Baltimore school system. My husband and I have been married for 16 years and we had 2 children. We have a 12-year-old daughter and we buried our 8-year-old in 2022 after we lost him to a house fire. My marriage, nor have I been perfect, Deja, but my family and I have been through some ish. My husband has an out of wedlock son who is 6 years old. Would you believe that the same house fire we lost my son in is the same house fire we lost my husband's mistress in? When I tell you God ain't got shit on Cat Williams, I mean that shit because he's a whole comedian. I refuse to let my husband's side baby stay here in this household. Shit, he should be happy he's still here. So his son stays with his dead mother's sister, which is his aunt. Lately, my husband and the aunt have been corresponding more frequently, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's fucking her now. But then I found out why. My husband comes in and says his son is really struggling in school. I stay quiet. He repeated 2 more times. The next day, he brings it up again and shares that his son has been evaluated and now has an IEP. Do you know that this man had the audacity to ask me if I could observe his son, look over his IEP, and if there's any services I could provide his side son, would I consider doing so? Deja, I have not said one word since then, and that was 4 days ago. This man is partially the reason we lost a child. He comes home with the child that he produced outside of our marriage, and now he wants me to parent the child because his side bitch is dead. You have to be fucking kidding me. Before I speak again, I'm going to need your advice because I'm about to lose it. Thanks in advance for your support. Signed, he must be crazy if he think I'm going to raise his side baby. Oh. Okay. Per usual, let me take a sip. All right. Okay. Okay. Put my glasses away. First of all, let me send my condolences. Let me send my condolences because I am beyond sorry to hear about the baby. I'm very, very sorry to hear about the baby. You know, it's a very unfortunate situation. I pray that God gives you guys strength and, you know, just strength for the journey. Just strength for the journey because it's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. I'm not even a parent and I can't even imagine losing one of my nieces or nephews. So it's unimaginable. So my heart goes out to you. You and your entire family, right? Let's start there. Um, as far as your husband, right? It seems as though you guys must have decided that you were going to embark on a path of forgiveness, which is why you're deciding to stay married. He's still in your household, so on and so forth, right? Which is a beautiful thing. I love to see resilience in marriages, right? Because, you know, I want folks to stay together, especially if that's what they want to do, right? So I'm assuming that you guys embarked on that journey because I honestly don't know how else you would be able to move forward had you not. If you agreed, my dear, to moving forward, I know this is going to sound incredibly crazy and it's also hard to hear because it's probably not what you want to hear. But my dear, you have to do that, right? Not only do you have to move forward, if the agreement was to move forward in forgiveness, then you also have to do that, right? Now, if we were sitting in an Operation Hill 100 Heart session, I probably would have to ask what was the agreement because I would need to know what parameters were set moving forward since you guys went through such a traumatic situation. You know, what were the terms that you guys agreed to, right? And like I said, it has to be to some degree some terms of moving forward, which is why y'all are still together. So it goes back to what I just said. You need to actually put forth the effort into what you said that you were going to do. Now, do I think that that will be easy? Absolutely not. Do I think that is doable? Yes, if you make it doable, if he makes it doable. But you guys have to have some dialogue about that being doable and what it looks like in depth and in detail, right? Before you do so, I would suggest you guys sit down together and talk about, in all honesty, what you have been through. Because it seems like this baby, I mean, it happened a while ago, right? It was conceived a while ago. So that means that there may have been some things taking place in the marriage a while back that I don't know if it was addressed. So you might want to start there and say, hey, let's just talk about how we got to the point that you will be sleeping with another woman and sleeping with her to the magnitude that you can impregnate her. So I think we got to go backwards. And I know that that's frustrating when you're trying to move forward, but from my experience, in any situation, when you want to move forward, you have to go backwards because we have to figure out what caused us to be in this situation so we can move forward and make sure that that doesn't happen again. So the conversation will have to be what happened with you and this girl? Like, how did you meet her? What made you go to this extent with her? How did you feel about me then? How do you feel about me now? There has to be a slew of questions answered for the both of you so you guys can move forward, right? So when you go all the way back to have the dialogue about what took place regarding his infidelity, what you have to keep in mind is although we are discussing the past, it is the past. So it's one thing to say like, okay, we can sit down and talk about it, but it's going to be very hard for y'all to talk about it if when he brings up what took place in 2016 or something, you get it all mad again like this is happening right now. So you have to keep in mind that although I'm asking to have this conversation about our past, I'm not asking to deal with the emotions of what took place then. I'm just trying to figure out how we got there so we can move forward, right? So he may share some things with you that happened back then that you may disagree with, that you don't feel he's being honest about, whatever the situation is. Remember, this is back then, and he's entitled to his version of the story. You just want to hear it so you can know how to process it and correct some things if need be, right? So now once he shares with you, oh, okay, this is what went on, so on and so on and so on and so forth. Okay, okay. That's your version of the story, no problem. I need you to also share with him what was going on with you at that time. Because I know sometimes in relationships, there are people who require more attention than others. There are people who work harder in the relationships or longer hours or more than others. It's a lot of things that could have been going on that would have allowed him to do what he did without either maybe your knowledge or you know what I'm saying? So you can just share with him your version. All right. Once you guys have both gotten that out, you're aware of how he feels about the situation and thinks about the situation and vice versa. Let's move on from that part. The next part of that is okay, now you've dealt with the woman, you conceived the child with the woman. I'm assuming that after he conceived the child, he shared that with you. Y'all went through the motions of it, but then you decided to say, listen, but I'm willing to move forward with you. What was taking place before the this is what I would be asking in the Healing Heart session. What was taking place with the trio before the mom of the young person that's not yours passed away? So how are you guys co-parenting at that time? Because I know you said that the kid wasn't allowed to come and stay in your household, but I'm guessing he didn't need to when the mom was alive. So my question is, how was that whole situation working out, with you three? Because you said that this happened in 2022. You said the baby is 6, so he had to be born in 2018. So for 4 years, it was the three of you trying to manage this situation. How did that work? Right? I would be asking that, right? After that, my next thing would be, can you share with me how what happened? No, not with me. Can you and him talk about what happened that day? Because I don't know. You remember, like, why did I get married? right? I don't know if you guys watched that movie, but on Why Did I Get Married, that was a large part of the issue between Malik Yoba and Janet Jackson was because, oh, we can't talk about what happened. You need to. You need to because you need to get out how you feel. I need to get out how I feel. I need to know how you feel. You need to know how I felt. And then we need to know how to move forward if that's what we're trying to do. So I know that it's a very tumultuous situation, and God knows I don't wish it on the soul, and my heart bleeds for you guys. And I know it can be painful revisiting that conversation, but you need to because there may be some details that you didn't know. There may be some things that he felt or thought or did that you're unaware. You guys need to have the conversation flat out, right? You know what I'm saying? Once y'all have the conversation flat out, you both need to be honest. So if to some degree, like you said in your letter, it was his fault that the young person was unalive, your baby, then he needs to own that and he needs to admit that. And you need to get to a place where you can have forgiveness regarding that. Because I've also had healing heart sessions where it's been parents that have had a situation where they feel the other parent was at fault and they just couldn't get past it, right? And if your situation is one of those situations, we have to be honest about that. Because what ends up happening is you only torture one another when you keep trying to tell yourself, no, I'm good, let's work it out. No, you're not. Because if you're not good, then something is going to occur and it's going to trigger you and it's going to show that you're not good. So we need y'all, you guys need to go through that whole traumatic situation so you can be good, right? So once y'all talked about how he got to the point of, conceiving with another woman, what took place when the other woman and your young person passed away, now we get to what are we agreeing upon for the future, right? Again, this agreement does not have to be perfect. It just has to suit the two of you and it has to be realistic, right? So I know a person like me on the outside looking in, be like, girl, you could get past that. The woman is no longer here anymore. That's me. That's what I'm saying. That's how I feel. We can't go for how I feel because guess who's not in that marriage? Me. So we have to now talk about what he feels and what you feels and how you guys can marry that so y'all can stay together. It sounds like from your letter, you're still not comfortable with the child that was conceived on the outside. I'm going to have to propose this to you, and it's just me being real, right? You're a parent, right? And no matter what, you, I'm pretty sure, love your children, right? You love your children. No matter what the circumstances is that they were conceived under, you love your children, right? So I think that you should assume that for every other planet, every other parent on this planet, right? Now, while I understand that your husband may have conceived that child, and of course he understands outside of his marriage, and may even be with a woman who I don't know what she meant to him. Maybe she meant nothing. Who knows? God rest that lady. So I'm not trying to talk negative about her. I'm just saying that still doesn't negate the fact that it is his child. And of if you're thinking how you feel about your children for him, then you have to understand that no matter how the child was conceived, it's his and he's going to love him. Right? So if you cannot reconcile a way to coexist with this young person being in you guys' lives while you're with your husband, then you have to be honest about if you can remain in this marriage. Because it's going to be unrealistic for him to keep that child separate from you guys. At the end of the day, if nothing else, that young man and your daughter are siblings. So to some degree, he's going to have to come around. The dad is going to have to parent him the same way he parents your child. So it's unrealistic to abolish the kid from the family when, in fact, that's exactly what he is, family. So before we even get to the feelings and the thoughts and the emotions and the behaviors of your husband, I think you need to address your own, which is, can I get to a place where I can accept this baby as family? And if the honest to God answer is no, then you have to be honest with yourself and see if this marriage can work. But If the answer is I think I can or I'll try, then I think that you need to get your Operation Heal 100 Heart sessions so I can help you navigate through actually doing so. Because it's one thing to tell a Negro, yeah, I'm a try because I just don't want you to leave me. But then when it's actually time for you to display that in your behaviors, you do no such thing. Because at the end of the day, once again, if you start to treat this young person like they're not family, eventually the father will grow tired of that in you and leave you. Because whether you like it or not, that is his family. That's his child. You have to also think about how you want your daughter to coexist with their sibling. If you're against that young person, how do you think your daughter's going to feel? When she needs to understand that no matter how the young person was conceived, that's still her brother. But I think you need to first understand that. And if you can't, then the least you could do is separate yourself from this marriage because it's not fair to your husband. Now, I know that sounds crazy because you're probably looking at this camera right now like, you asking me, Deidre, to give a fuck about what's fair to him when he's a motherfucker that cheated, lied, and conceived a motherfucking baby on the side. I get it. It does sound crazy. But the reason why I'm saying this is because you wrote the letter in and it made me feel like you want your marriage to work. But I'm trying to explain to you that there's no way for that to happen if you can't accept what took place in your marriage and move on with forgiveness in your heart. Forgiveness for everybody. But that also has to be something you want to do. That has to be something that you feel should be done. And that has to be something that you honestly work towards. And it has to show up in your actions and your behaviors. Now, granted, in all fairness to you, it takes time. It takes time. So, am I saying after you hear my response to your letter, you're supposed to go home the next day and make this happen? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. These things take time. I totally get that part of it. But you have to understand if that's what the issue is or if you just can't do it. Because that's two totally separate things. It's one thing to say, I can do something, it's just going to take me a while because it's not comfortable for me. And it's another thing to say, I just cannot do it. I just simply cannot do it. And if that's the case, your husband needs to know that. I'm so, what am I in a fucking hospital? Absolutely not. But in any event, my dear, I really, really appreciate you writing, and I really, really appreciate also if you would come and get your Operation Heal 100 Heart session. It seems like you might live in another state, so what I would suggest is, of course, doing it over Zoom so we can actually get the flow and the feel of things, and then we can have some real talk about what moving forward looks like for you. Because if it's not realistic, you do not want to trap your husband in a situation where it has no room to grow. And really and truly, the kid is here. The kid is here. The situation is what it is, and it's moving how it's going to move. So it's either you can get with that program or you can't. And if you can't and you want to end the relationship amicably, that's another thing that we can talk about. We can talk about that. Absolutely not. We can talk about that. That's why you have to come and get your Heal a Heart session. So, in any event, ladies and gentlemen, I pray that I was able to land the plane. And I want you to drop down. Oh my God, it's toilet flushing, people coughing, people talking. I need a fucking studio. Anyway, if I did or didn't land a plane, please drop down in the comment section and let me hear your feedback to this Dear Deidre letter. Also, like, comment, share, subscribe, and please, ladies and gentlemen, be safe for this holiday season and enjoy your day.